We're in the Matrix. The era of artificial intelligence is here. FN Meka, a green-haired, tatted-up AI that looks like a cross between a Predator and Tekashi 6ix9ine, was actually signed to a deal at Capitol Records. And then augmented reality actually hit. Artists complained about the danger of losing work to AI-generated content. The artist behind Meka's voice, Kyle Hooligan, says he was never actually paid to have his voice used for the AI. Then there was the content itself. How is an AI created by two white executives talking about run-ins with the police and using the N-word? Capitol Records dropped FN after a week and issued an apology. But with AI programs being used to produce everything from rap lyrics to, in some cases, whiter voices for call center operators from Asia, these beats aren't the last time we're going to be facing these issues. Computers aren't going to save us when existing racism and sexism are built right into the program. Joining me now to discuss this is Dr. Faith J. Day, Assistant Professor of Black Studies at UCSB. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really fascinated by this. First off, how do the biases, the racism, the sexism, the classism, ableism, how do the biases of society get baked into artificial intelligence programming? And is there any way we can avoid it?
Yes. I mean, thank you for having me, first off. But thinking about the biases, when you think about the way that most artificial intelligence is programmed, it's usually through the creation of algorithms or statistical models that are commonly used and reused with sort of old data. So what tends to occur is that when a new AI or a new robot or a new computer machine is created, it's kind of reusing something that has already been created and then kind of tweaking it a little bit to make some differences. And so with that information, many of the times, a lot of the beliefs that we have about society are also encoded within those different technologies. And so if you have data that is based on the society that we live in, for example, you're going to get data that is also a reflection of the biases that we have within society. And so that's definitely how you see that bias encoded.
So Dr. Day, what you're saying is it's possible that this AI, this FN Meka AI, basically just crowdsourced like existing top 10 rap songs over the last 8 months and was like, I was rapping at a party in the city with Drake and then I got pulled over by the cops and then N-word. I mean, is it basically a Mad Libs of compiling information? Like, how did the program itself choose to talk about these kinds of issues? Because look, anybody who actually listens to rap music knows it isn't all about the N-word and it's not all about police brutality.
Yes, and there's definitely a combination of that. So generally with algorithms, there's a combination of what's called, supervised and unsupervised learning. And so the supervised part is the part where you have people who are feeding the algorithm information, and the unsupervised part is the part where the algorithm is actually learning from what it sees. So in this case, it's quite possible that there is a specific subset of rap that could be creating this artificial intelligence, and or it could be the combination of not only looking at rap lyrics, but what type of rap lyrics are the most popular in this current moment in time, or the type of rap lyrics that are going to get the most views. And so there's a combination of things happening here that led to this.
So we've already seen that artificial intelligence, when it comes to, say, security, sometimes misidentifies black people or is more inclined to pick out black people for crimes and difficulties, this, that, or the other. We also have a story out now, this came out this same week, about a new tech startup that's using an AI program to change the accents of people from call centers so that they literally sound more white and more acceptable. Just from a technical standpoint, how the heck is an AI going to take something that comes out of my mouth and make it sound whiter? How does that process actually work before we even get into why it's incredibly problematic?
Yes. So there are many different types of algorithms that are used. Generally within computation, there's something called natural language processing, where computers actually study the way that we speak, the way that language works. And natural language processing is generally what's used to create different types of virtual assistants. So things like Siri or even any, TikTok voices, all of these different things that can essentially replicate human voices. And so they kind of study the way that people talk, mannerisms and speech patterns, and then they replicate that through some type of artificial intelligence.
Look, I grew up watching Sita on BET, and I even remember MC Scat Cat. I don't have a problem with animated things actually sounding like real black people. Just really quick, Dr. Faith, I just want to ask you, What can we do? What can the consumer do in the face of these kinds of AI? Should we not buy certain things? Do we just sort of complain online? What's the empowering thing that we can do against this sort of racist artificial intelligence programs that are being sold to us as improvements?
Yes, I think more than anything in this moment in time, we all not only need to have greater data and digital literacy, but we also have to have better intercultural competence. And so I read a lot about the importance of platform consciousness. And so having people be aware of when they see these things, knowing that it's wrong, not just on the side of users when we are viewing those things, but also on the side of the people who are creating these technologies. Because to some extent, if we have more engineers and developers who have that intercultural competency, we won't even see these things being created in the first place.
Yeah, Capitol Records, I'm pretty sure you can find somebody freestyling on a street corner that's better than this AI. Thank you, Dr. Faye, so much for joining us on